clear message to the public is to take the sensible steps in terms of water, shade and cover that many people are aware of. That's the best way of mitigating against the heat. We're asking people to keep an eye out for their neighbours and those who may be vulnerable. But we're also putting in additional contingency support as well. And I had a meeting with all the chief execs of the ambulance trusts across England this afternoon. We had a further meeting on ministers of COBRA to look at our cross-government response to ensure we're doing everything we can to mitigate the impact of the extreme heat that we're expecting. We're putting in extra measures in terms of call handlers, support for fleet, extra hours of capacity within the ambulances, and I was discussing with the ambulance chief execs the specific measures that they're taking. Each ambulance trust has well-developed contingency plans for extreme weather, and we're also working with the hospitals to get the handovers from ambulances into hospitals, but also to ensure that where people can be moved onto the wards themselves, we're using the full capability of the hospital rather than people waiting longer than they need to in ambulances outside.
Been very hot here in the UK for a number of days now, but as we're looking towards the weekend and certainly Monday and Tuesday, we're looking at these temperatures in the low 30s, which is pretty high for the UK. And there is still this possibility of, reaching up towards 40 degrees and breaking those records that we have here in the UK. And that's very frightening in a way that even some of the computer models are picking up these extremely high temperatures. And certainly even in the low 30s, we're going to see people really struggling in the heat and the infrastructure struggling. It's great to enjoy yourself in the heat and in the sunshine if you like to do so, but please do that sensibly. So we've seen lots of people flocking to our beaches, which is wonderful to see. But when the temperatures rise up into the 30s, and if they get to the high 30s, it's not a very sensible thing to be lying in the sun in the middle of the day on a beach. So people often think, oh, I'm going to cool myself down by throwing myself into the water, into the sea or into a nearby river. And that's, that's okay, but you've got to be very, very careful because there is this danger of cold shock, which, does kill people every year and people do drown in these heat waves. So be very, very careful, enter the water very slowly, make sure you're with an experienced swimmer and just be very, very cautious about chucking yourself into the water. It seems like a good idea, but it can kill. So we must think really urgently about preparing immediately for these types of heat waves. We're not ready. We don't have the infrastructure in place. We don't have the response in place. So there's some very urgent changes that need to be done in order to do immediate adaptations to these heat waves, because we'll see more coming probably next year and the year after. And this heat wave is an indication that climate change is here. We are seeing these problems now and they are going to get worse. We need to do something now.